call this meeting to order of the Finance Committee, Thursday, April 17th, 2025. So, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you. I'd like to note that this meeting is in person and is being recorded. For the purpose of the minutes, everyone's here except for John Souza. Okay, fiscal 26 warrant article review. Gary?
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are a couple of amendments and the other couple of warrant articles that the committee hadn't voted on except the budget. We're working on the budget. So the first one was, so as I had mentioned, I had been working on negotiations for all the four unions. I've settled one of the unions, steelworkers. So I went ahead and updated the budget, but also some of the members are part of the enterprise fund. So I updated the enterprise fund articles. So mainly affected water, sewer, and DCTV. So you'd have to revote, and I can give you the amounts that were adjusted for each enterprise fund. Let's see. So for water, it was the main line here that was adjusted, and that amount was $2,658. So that amount reflects the difference in the warrant article.
Okay, hang on a second. What was it and what is it now? What was it before?
Well, it was, let me see.
Oh, I mean, you can give us the increase, right?
The increase was $2,658.
Oh, so just
To the
just
first line
minus it
right
from
there.
there.
Yes,
So should we revote that?
you should.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so,
There's something else to look at too, right? Yeah.
all right, so let me just write that down.
So was
Say
this
the amount, say the amount again?
$2,658.
Okay. So, somebody want to
I'll make a motion.
make a motion to add $2,658 to the water division? Which article is that? Can you break it down a little bit?
This is Article,
Article 13. So.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, so Bill made the motion, Phil seconded it. Any other questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I see none, okay.
so the next one that was affected was the.
7? Okay, I gotta change the number, sorry. No, I don't have to
You have
change
to read
anything, other than the recommend number.
So the next one was the sewer that was affected,
Okay,
and that amount was $6,184, again, in the sewer division.
okay,
So that amount increased.
all right, so go back down. Somebody want to make a motion to, for Article 14, to add $6,184 to the sewer division line item?
Make a motion.
Okay, made a motion by Patrick,
I'll second.
second by Carrie. Any discussion?
Can I ask a question, please? What was the reason for that large increase in
So
that line item?
all the increases that I'm giving you now are because of contract negotiation settlements.
Contract
So
negotiations.
what we did was we settled with 3% increase for the steelworkers.
Okay.
So the members, some of the members are.
Yeah,
on
you had
the
mentioned
enterprise
that
fund.
before, so that covers all these increases.
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay.
yes,
so it's more people in sewer. yeah.
right.
Okay. Okay, ready for a vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I hear none. Okay, so,
So on the last one for the enterprise funds was DCTV. That increase was $2,934 even.
okay, this is Article 15.
$2,934 even.
Okay,
That's Article 15.
yep, Article 15, somebody want to make a motion to add $2,934?
I'll make the motion.
To personnel services. Somebody want to second it? Bill first? Hey, somebody want to second it?
I'll second it.
Second. All in favor, any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I hear none, so it's really, what is it, 880, I keep on saying it, 800, yeah, for all these votes, okay? Okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
so that cleans up those, and as we have the other unions hopefully settled by the end of the month, and we'll try to get as much as we can at the budget to avoid any kind of retro and then warrant article in the fall. So what we have right now is the article for the municipal, allowing municipal guns in the, you saw the police chief's recommendation I sent out to the committee?
Yep.
I'm not sure if the committee wants to vote on that tonight.
Can you bring it up there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I usually read it. 'Cause,
Jeez.
Okay, Article 26, license to carry exclusion of municipal administrative buildings on town property, to see if the town will vote to exclude its municipal administrative buildings from being a prohibited area under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 269, Section 10, thereby allowing possession of a firearm, loaded or unloaded, as defined by Section 121 of Chapter 140 in said buildings. Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to recommend Article 26.
Okay, Janine made a motion to recommend.
Second.
Second by Patrick. Discussion.
I read the chief's letter. I think that it's a good letter and it's logical. It makes sense. I still don't think it's a lot to ask people when they're carrying guns to lock them up before they come in a municipal building.
Okay, anything else, any other discussion, or?
Yeah, I'm with Terry, and I wrote up a rationale about why. I can read it if you want, or it doesn't make a difference. If you want me to, I will. If you don't.
Well, we got to vote before we can do the rationale, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So are we ready to vote?
I just, if I may, I just feel it's too bad we've got a situation where we have to be talking about guns in municipal buildings, and it's just sorry that it's, society has evolved that way. We never would have thought of that to happen, say, 25, 30 years ago. It's just unfortunate that we're at this crossroads now. It's the only comment I have.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate we're voting on the same day as Florida State University, but, okay, are we ready to vote? Okay, I'm gonna do a roll call on this, just in case. Okay, so, Bill?
I vote yes.
Okay, Bob, Gorvin, I vote yes. Brian?
Yes.
Yes, Janine, yeah?
Yes.
Patrick, yes?
Carrie, no?
No.
Okay? No. Okay, so that's 5-3.
5-3.
5-3. Okay. All right. So Janine, did we?
I wrote it, the general.
You want,
I
okay.
realize
All right,
Carrie
so-
and Terry and
All right, so
Bill
who,
will have a minority opinion.
all right, so who's gonna write the minority opinion?
I
You already have.
started writing it already. Do you want me to read it out, or?
Well, I'd like Terry, Terry and Phil
Yeah.
to say, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
like
Do you
everybody-
want me to
yeah.
read it out, or do you want me to email it to them?
Well, it's up to you
or-
guys. Do you wanna, let's listen to her rationale and say, I'm okay with it, or,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I think, did you do the rationale already?
I did the general rationale, yes.
Okay, you
Okay.
want to read yes?
All right, so why don't we do
Majority.
the majority first? Go ahead.
Okay. This article, if accepted, would exempt municipal administration buildings from the state's prohibited areas for licensed firearms holders and clarify the application of Chapter 135 and Act Modernizing Firearm Laws, which is H 4885, legislation that went into effect in October of 2024. The Massachusetts statute further authorizes individual towns the option to exclude their administrative buildings from the definition of prohibited area as allowed by law prior to October 2024. This article does not impact or allow for the carrying of firearms on school grounds.
Is everybody okay with that? Do we want to mention the police chief's letter, or?
I think personally, if the discussion comes up at town meeting, I would ask the chief of police
Okay,
to speak.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Will
Okay.
he be there?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So Go ahead,
So
Carrie.
opposed, I wrote, and feel free to add, or, while licensed to carry holders are thoroughly vetted, the primary function of municipal buildings is to serve the public in spaces that should feel safe, neutral, and free from the presence of firearms. Exempting these buildings from the state's newly established gun-free zone protections undermines that goal. Massachusetts' new law reflects a broader commitment to public safety and reducing the normalization of firearms in civic life. Municipal buildings are not private spaces. They're shared by residents of all backgrounds, including children, seniors, and individuals who may feel threatened by the presence of firearms, regardless of licensing status. The fact that there are no metal detectors or screening in these buildings makes the presence of firearms even more concerning, not less. The concern about licensed to carry holders needing to secure their firearms and vehicles is not unique to this law. Many gun-free zones, including schools, hospitals, and courthouses, require this same step. Responsible gun ownership includes adapting to restrictions that prioritize public welfare. The risk of a weapon being stolen from a vehicle does not justify increasing the number of guns in public government spaces. Furthermore, allowing exemptions increases confusion and inconsistency across towns, creating potential for miscommunication and accidental violations. It is better to maintain a clear, uniform policy that supports safety over convenience.
So you guys all right with that? Do you want to amend it? Do you want to add to it? Do you
I can
wanna-
also email it to you if you wanna, yeah.
Okay,
When you have a final version, can you send it to me so I can
Yeah.
insert it?
okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So if you have any
Okay.
edits, then you should transfer them to me.
Good, very good.
Okay, so the next one was the Article 21, the camping bylaw.
Yep.
Town council has reviewed this, has made some recommendations on it. He did put in he feels that with this bylaw, if there wasn't a penalty in place, then there really would be no teeth in it, not that we would charge the penalty. So this is the new version of it. And again, I keep emphasizing that the purpose of this is to not have people on town land and have the liability from that, so.
So I don't understand your comment about we wouldn't charge it if there's a penalty.
Even though it's in the bylaw, it does not mean that the town would enforce
That seems
would not
very-
enforce the penalty.
Seems very arbitrary to me. It should either be there or it shouldn't be there, especially if it's a bylaw.
Yeah, it's the recommendation of town council.
I don't care.
Well, yeah,
Isn't it
we don't have
arbitrary?
any ability to
So
remove
either you
it.
put it in there or you don't.
yeah. We don't have the ability to remove it. I mean,
Well, first, you're going to have a collection issue. The second thing.
Well, then why have it in there?
Yeah, well, the thing is, if somebody gets hurt that's camping, and they can look at this law and say, you know, it's not, you know, the town of Dartmouth's not promoting it, you know,
Yep.
it's not accepted. I mean, that would be my interpretation. So, somebody want to make a motion, and then I'll read it,
Now let's read it.
and then we'll have a discussion.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Okay, so Article, what is it, 8?
21.
21,
What do we need, 21? Oh, okay, I'm looking at the, okay.
something else, huh?
Well, this is Article 8, you know.
That's from the
It does.
bylaw.
Okay. All right.
I second.
Okay, so, all right, so let me read it, and then we'll do the motions, okay? Okay, Article 21, establishing a camping bylaw. The reason I'm doing that is so people at home can see what we're voting on. To see if the town will vote to amend general bylaw by adding a new Article 8 to Chapter 315 as follows. Article 8, camping, 315-27, restrictions. No person shall set up on any property, public or private, without the permission of the owner, therefore, a camp tent or camp materials, nor shall any person between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. sleep in the open in a vehicle or in other public property within the limits of the town of Dartmouth. Section 35-18, enforcement and penalties. There's nothing there?
No.
Okay. Subsection 35-28-1, scope of enforcement. This section deals solely with the enforcement of this bylaw, noting that is contained herein shall limit or be construed as limiting any civil or criminal enforcement authority or power of any enforcement official or others may have or may come to under state or federal law or any regulations that are proclamated pursuant to the same, including without limitation any powers of arrest and/or detention, summons for criminal process, or levying of fines. Subsection 35-28.2, enforcement officials. The bylaw shall be enforced by the chief of police, director of public health, the director of inspectional services, and their authorized designees. For all purposes other than the granting of permits under this bylaw, designees of the chief of police shall include any Dartmouth police officer. Subsection 315-28.3 penalties. The first violation of the bylaw shall be punished by a fine of not less than $100. The second violation of this bylaw within 12 months after the first violation shall be punished by a fine of no less than $200. Further violations within 12 months of the last violation shall be punished by a fine of $300. Each such act which either continues or is repeated for more than 1/2 hour after the issuance of written notice of violation by the bylaw shall be a separate offense. Okay. Subsection 35-28-4, non-criminal disposition. Each fine for the violation of this section shall be issued in accordance with the non-criminal deposition procedures as provided in Article 3 of the General Bylaws in Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 21-9. Subsection 315-28-5, judicial relief. The town shall seek enforcement of this article through the issuance or injunction of other equitable release by the Superior Court. Severability. The provision of this Article 8 of Chapter 315 are severable if any court or competent jurisdiction determines that any person is in violation of the laws, constitutions, or regulations of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts or of the United States of America. The remaining provisions shall be affected thereby and shall continue in full force and effect. Okay,
That was long.
all right. So somebody want to make a motion?
Thought we did.
What is it? What is it? What article is it?
21.
Article 20, somebody want to make a motion on Article 21?
I'll make the motion again.
Okay, Bill made a motion,
I'll second it.
second by Carrie. Discussion.
I have a question, I don't know if you can answer this, Gary, but have there been any concerns? Has anybody tried to sue the town?
No, not sue the town. We have instances where there are homeless on town property at the moment. So,
But it's not, this is, what you said a minute ago was this is to prevent liability of the town.
right, because if those individuals remain on town property, there's a potential that there's liability to the town. This enforces, so right now what we do is a no trespass notice, and we serve them that. There's no fines, no penalties, but I want the committee to keep in mind that the Council on Aging does work closely with these folks. They've worked with them for years.
That's right.
Years. Some of them have been in the woods for years.
Yes, they
And I don't want that to go, not to be forgotten. So this just, because sometimes when you go out there, they're just adamant that they won't leave. But being on town property, it becomes an issue.
Okay, Janine?
I mentioned this earlier. I looked at some of the references to other laws, and of course, I still have confusion about that Article 111 that I didn't find anywhere. But the Mass General Law, there's nothing in there that says you have the discrepancy, whatever, to not find them.
To not,
I don't see anything that says it's up to us whether or not we find them, but you're writing a bylaw that includes some relatively severe fines.
yeah, I know there's communities, I think we mentioned this, like Fall River did it, and I'm not sure, and obviously there's a non-criminal fine, so they're not gonna go, they're not gonna go to jail, they have to, but I know in other communities, I think research that we did, that it's there as teeth, it's not really there to impose, and I guess the question is, because the law says that it's there, do we have to? I guess that's,
Right, well, that's what I'm asking. And what is the difference between a bylaw and a policy?
so a policy is set by the board, a bylaw is set by town meeting.
Correct, but why did the town council go this way?
Initially, it was gonna be set by policy. To be honest, I'm not sure why he decided. It would be maybe more, there's more teeth in it to set it as a bylaw.
I have very mixed feelings about this, because you can't get blood from a stone, as they say. You can't be, and not to discriminate against anyone, but that some of the people that live in the woods will always live in the woods. That is a choice they've made, and it has nothing to do with anything, except they simply do not want to go to housing.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen at the, when we have these committee meetings and they report back, the Council on Aging reports back, Matt Desereau reports back to the town. But, you know, being on private property is one thing, but if they're on public property, that's, I mean, if they're on town property, that becomes
So
a real big issue.
explain to me why the town is liable if you don't have something like this.
Well,
It's town property.
we really, the only teeth we have right now is a no trespass notice, so, you know, with a no trespass notice, we serve them. And sometimes it just, I mean, Bill can probably fill in a little bit more, but they ignore it, so.
All right, so do you serve them with this thing, and you hand them $100 fine, they're gonna ignore that too.
Yeah.
So what
So
happens
what's the
then?
repercussions?
All right.
What happens
Yeah.
then?
All right, Bill?
That brings up an interesting legal question. Regardless of what I was talking about, as far as the Council of Agents supporting them, or at least going to find out information on them. If they, by chance, got their foot in a pothole or something, they got injured on town property, could they in fact sue the town because they fell into a town-owned property that was in fact hazardous?
They
They
could.
could.
Yeah.
They could, there's a huge liability there,
I
as we
tripped
know.
on a crack in the parking lot.
Yeah, anything can happen,
I can
you're
sue the
right,
town.
anything can
How
happen.
does this, how does
That
this
could be
pro-
anyone.
Hang on, hang on, hang on.
You're not camping out there, I mean, you know.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, but these people, they frankly, okay, we all feel badly for them, but they're not town taxpayers, but yet they still could, you know, be part of a liability issue if they happen to get hurt on town property, so,
How does this protect you as a, I'm not being honest.
No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
How does this protect you from not being sued anyhow?
Well, it's mainly also, these folks are in unsanitary conditions.
Yeah, but,
You
yeah,
know,
but,
it's, and it's on town property.
that should be a health issue. It shouldn't be a $100 fine issue.
But it's an enforcement issue. You know, they gotta,
That's okay,
So
they can
if
still
they don't
enforce.
pay the fine, do they get arrested? Is that?
No.
No, it's not
no,
No,
criminal.
but
They got
it's-
yeah,
it's just-
yeah. Yeah,
I guess, I'm not sure.
If you-
this is all-
petition to the court.
if you,
They don't pay the fine.
Can't get
Yeah, there's really that,
Right.
so I just want to point out, if you ask a lawyer whether you have a bylaw or a policy, they're going to say bylaw.
Well, I would like to know,
I-
if people are invoking this thing about liability, I would like to know what liability we have with this or without it. And if nobody's gonna, I mean, if nobody's ever gonna be able to collect the $100 to $300 fine, what's the point? And if you're not gonna escort people off the property, what's the point?
well, that's my whole
All right, all
point.
right, just want to give Carrie a chance.
Well, I'm just going to expand on what Brian is saying, that, you know, if we're not, if they don't have money, then we have to take them to court. We're actually wasting money bringing them to court to get no money. It seems like, I get why we're doing it, and sure, it's a liability to have them there, but I don't think the $100, the $300, you know, the scale of the money is going to change anything. I think it's only going to make it worse.
Pretext. I feel like the
Yeah.
idea of fines, I think that I don't know where it came from, but I would imagine people want to solve a
And-
problem. I
and-
mean, I don't think people would like to see
Right.
people.
And then I
in the
heard,
woods.
and then I heard somebody say, well, when,
Some of the reasons that people do is they don't want to go to a shelter. They don't, you know, if they had an apartment that they could go to, maybe they would. but,
Right.
yeah, I think, you know, the conversations that we've had in these meetings with, for the homeless meetings, there's been some of these folks that have been out there, like I mentioned, have been there for years. So, you know, we finally, I think, served them notice on one occasion, and they're moving, but they're moving we want to get them to housing. We don't want them in the woods. But there is a potential risk if, you know, they're near water supply, they're near, you know,
But I-
camping on town property. Like, if you remember, they were also on back of the library, I think.
Yep, they were.
Between the council on
Walmart.
aging. So they were removed. They were at the, I think Jones, Park. They were removed.
so,
Okay,
so I have this visual, like, okay, you're in back of the library, people have turned you in. give us $100. No. Give us $200. No. Give us $300. No. And then
Yeah.
what?
Is there a law that would prevent people from being behind a school? Because I know there was a.
Well, that's close to the school. That's,
Right, but
Yeah.
is there a law already?
They were on
to-
Walmart property.
They were on Walmart?
Yeah.
property?
well, Walmart allows them to camp in their
In
parking
the
lot.
parking lot, yeah.
So there's, and the property between Walmart and the towing company is owned by a private, owned by, I believe, Ann and Hope, the people that owned Ann and
Oh, the
Hope.
old one, yeah.
So they know that there's issues there, but it's out of sight, out of mind. They don't,
So
Don't
I would
really
like to
address it.
know, I would like to know.
but that's not town property.
I would like to know what, not asking you, but I would like to know why we have this, number one. Number two, what is the liability? And if you can't collect on the fine and we're not gonna escort people off the property, why do we have it?
I mean, what happens when somebody trespasses someplace else? Do the police come and say you have to move?
They're served trespass notice
If there's a complaint, they
By
would.
who? By constable?
by either a constable or the police department.
Yeah.
But that's only, that could only be a temporary,
Right, so I think,
this is long-term.
okay, so that's one point that you're making, is this, because there's no other camping bylaw, camping, bylaws, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see, if somebody gets hurt on property, doesn't matter whether this law or the other law, I don't see that as a good, valid reason.
I don't
For
think this
this.
protects you one way or the other.
No, it doesn't.
I think Adam wanted to talk.
Yeah, that's.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
I just want to know.
And then I
if
heard
there's
somebody
liability.
say, well, don't worry, we'll never charge them the fine. Well, what's the point of having it? You're not gonna
There is
charge
none.
them.
Bob Adam wants to talk.
I just.
Go ahead, Patrick.
I think that if you serve them with a no trespass notice, then they're on notice, they're not allowed there. How does that not protect you from liability, but this bylaw will protect you from liability?
Yeah.
Isn't it kind of one and the same? And I mean, I agree with the premise behind it, trying to limit the liability, but I don't agree with the monetary fines, especially for people that don't have anything. They're in that mindset. I mean, I've dealt with it with people I know that they just don't want help. They want to live outside. And I don't think they're ever going to change. And there's no recourse. They say, I don't have $1, so you're not going to get the money out of me ever. So I just don't think it would change much of anything. I mean, the liability piece I do get, but if you serve somebody with a no trespass, can we find out from town council if this person has been no trespass and then they get hurt? Can we then say, well, they know they weren't supposed to be there, we've served them with that order?
Right.
Well, recently, we just served a no trespass for someone that was out there.
Yeah.
And they're slowly moving out. I mean, it's been a long process. So I think the genesis of this bylaw was to maybe expedite that. I mean, it's,
Makes no sense.
yeah, I mean, it is written, it's a bylaw. We don't have the ability to remove it from the warrant. You have to either vote
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got
one way or
you.
another. It's not, we don't have the
I
ability
do
to
have
vote.
one,
Go ahead.
I do have one further question, and it's probably going to muddy the waters even more, but how do other towns deal with homeless and living in them, these people per se living on their town properties? We know there's homeless in New Bedford. There's, as a matter of fact, off at Church Street, there's a place in the railroad tracks that's been residence for homeless
There's a
people
huge
for
encampment
years.
in the forest.
Yeah, so my question is, how are these other towns address this issue? Do they arbitrarily send officers up there to remove them, and they move back? What goes on? I mean, I'm
So-
curious to see how other towns would react to
We
this.
did the research and the developing of this bylaw was pretty much looking at other communities. If you look at Fall River, New Bedford, the major cities like Taunton, they have bylaws in place like this with monetary fines.
So there's a bylaws, they're not policies, they're bylaws.
Right.
Interesting.
And it's pretty robust. If you go across the country now, you see many communities with this type of law in place.
I suspect there's no enforcement, though, because we've all seen the
Probably not.
encampments in New Bedford and Fall River.
What would the town's policy be? I mean, hand them $300 worth of fines over time, and no enforcement, you don't come and take them off the property.
Yeah, I think this in combination with keeping the no trespass notices going, in fact, we have others. Right now, I don't think there are any additional people on town property, except the one that we have that we're working with. But I think in combination with, the first line of defense, maybe still issuing a no trespass notice.
I don't get it.
All right, are we ready to vote?
This law would allow somebody to camp or, hang out during the day, but they had to be gone by night. Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I think there's already a Massachusetts law that says that they can't do it. I think if you serve them with no trespassing, it's gonna have the same impact. I think it depends on who serves it and how serious they are, and, you know.
And there's no expectation of collecting the
Sorry?
fine. There's no expectation of collecting the fine.
Yeah, I mean, I get, and the issue of public safety, I get that. I understand why people are concerned about it. I just don't think this is gonna solve the problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed.
I agree.
We ready to vote?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do a roll call on this. Okay, Bill?
No.
Bob? No. Brian?
No,
Janine?
No?
Patrick?
No.
Gary?
No.
Terry?
No.
Bill? No. Okay. So 0, 8, 0. The rationale,
I took your seat.
well, I would say there's no expectation
No
of
collecting
collecting
a fine.
any of the fines,
So,
and
Well-
the town is not willing to.
well, let's see what she's got first.
Well, I have a very, the
Yeah,
one that's
yeah,
neutral.
Yeah, we can add.
Has no opinion.
Let's defer to Jean Highway.
This article amends our general bylaws and adds a new Article 8 titled Camping to Chapter 315, currently titled Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Property. Details regarding restrictions, enforcement, and penalties are included in warrant Article 21.
Okay, Brian.
No, I forgot what I was going to
No
say.
opinion.
There's no
Well, no,
enforcement.
there's no expectation of ever collecting on any of these fines because the people are homeless. And the town, I think, is not willing to force them off, or can't force them off town lands. So what is the point? And I'm not a legal person to say that, as Patrick was saying, that if you're giving them a policy statement, and it's, tell them to go out to town, you should be you should be protected against liability, because you've done everything you can. And
She can't type
okay,
that
so-
fast.
No, that's,
I'm just
I
rambling.
was going to
And then Terry said-
interrupt, but
and
that's
then-
all
well,
right.
then Terry says also that it's a state law, so what's the point?
Is it a
Doesn't
state
make a
law, Terry, that says, what, no camping?
Yeah, no
Yeah,
overnight
not private,
camping.
yeah.
But there's
Okay.
no enforcement in there.
On,
I can read it to you, Jean. I just looked.
can
it
you
up.
just give
Yeah.
me the,
Chapter and section.
Section
One
50.
moment.
Paradox
Because I
is the
can
law, but
look
there's
it
no
up.
enforcement.
You know, it always happens to me. Somebody wants to know what I'm reading. and-
Sorry, I was rambling.
And I
No,
can't
that's fine.
find it. But I will. Give me just a minute.
I was going to say that you can't solve a problem by making it
I
illegal.
know, I know. It's like my mind.
I can give other examples, but I don't want to start a controversy.
Just say no trespassers, we'll
I could
deal with
never
the
do
problem
more
just
than
fine.
one
We need
monitor.
additional bylaw to do it.
I'm so sorry. I cannot.
All right, so we got
You want to go on to, this is just the Article 24, this is the last article, this is just a cleanup from town council. There was some language that he wanted to change. If you remember last week, Jessica, acting assessor, came in and presented these. So all this is changing. I can show you what he made amendments to.
Okay, Gary, I'd just like to finish this.
Oh, okay.
Before we go into that. So, I mean, I think we just put it as general statement that, you know, it's not enforceable, and we just don't understand the reasoning.
What I looked up, and this is AI, in Massachusetts, overnight camping on public property is generally restricted or prohibited unless specifically authorized, and when emergency shelter is unavailable. And then they go through and explain Boston, Lowell, Fall River, New Bedford.
Well, we don't need that. We're
I
just,
can,
Bylaws.
Just
I
general.
want to cut and paste it to you.
Reinforce them. I just think that.
Yeah,
if
that's
we
fine.
have that,
I'll do that
no
right now, and
trespass
then I'll see if I
order
can find
served to,
where it
would
comes
serve
from.
the same purpose as this in terms of enforcement, I guess, you know.
I will write it in a little bit better manner than what I just
Yeah.
plugged in and send it
I
out
have
to everybody to
full
go
faith
yay
that
or
you
nay.
will.
okay, okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
You're the
okay,
best.
so now, this is Article 24 we're on?
Article 24, yes.
Okay, so Article 24, acceptance of optional additional veteran exemption clause 22J, to see if the town will vote to accept general law 29, chapter 59, section 5, clause 22J, which authorizes the town to set a percentage increase in the amount of the annual exemption granted under any general law, chapter 59, section 5, clause 2022, clause 22A, Clause 22B, Clause 22C, Clause 22E, Clause 22F, subject to certain conditions and said Clause 22J. To further set this percentage increase at 100% of the exemption amount to be effective for the applicable exemptions granted for a fiscal year beginning on or after July 1st, 2025. So this was the HEROES, this is the
Yes.
HEROES Act?
But
Okay.
the only, I want to just point out to the committee, all he did was change, like, ways redacted, that's all, there's no numbers have changed or nothing, just to clean it up a little bit.
I was going to say, we voted on
Language.
this.
Yeah, just language, that's all he's done, is change the language, changed, took out personal exemption, put it in the exemption amount.
Okay,
That's-
so-
there's really not anything
So we want to vote
substantial.
on, we want to vote on the,
You can re-vote on, you can vote
yeah,
on the revision.
yeah, yeah. All right, we vote on the revision of Article 24. Somebody want to make a motion
Make a motion.
made by Patrick, second by Phil. Any discussion?
No.
What was the change that was made?
Just a couple of words.
Just
Just language
That's
cleanup,
it.
sure.
Set up
He took out,
personal exemption, you put an exemption.
yeah, I have to go back to my email.
I'm sorry, I just don't like it when an attorney comes in and changes something that had been in
Well,
place. and I
after
want-
the
I want
fact.
to know
Who-
why.
Yeah, who is he? Is it,
I just want to,
Well, town council.
understand why. Yes.
I didn't realize it was still under review.
Yeah, we didn't know that, yeah.
So he changed, crossed out and put in the town to set a percentage increase, amount of the annual exemption. So he's just changing words around. That's exemption granted any of, subject to certain conditions.
Well, those words weren't in there before though, right? So
They're right,
Is
yeah.
there a
Well,
reason?
they weren't, but he's moving some words around. I mean, like, he put, and further to set the percentage increase at, it was by, so it's just.
He added that.
No, the whole percentage increase thing wasn't in there originally. Right.
It said exemption up to 100%.
Yeah.
I only say that from how I wrote the
Yeah,
rationale.
it's in the original. It's just that he, like, he put,
So
he
he's
crossed
trying to
out by.
clarify 100%, basically. He's,
Yeah, and of the, took out personal, put exemption amount, certainly got rid of all this to be,
so may I ask a question? Where did the original wording come from? The original word?
I believe town council.
The original
Yes.
wording that he now changed?
No, the original wording came from, I believe Jessica, administrator, the acting assessor, had sent it to Anthony a long time ago, and town council, and now they revised it. I think Brian actually looked at this,
Brian?
Brian Cruz, who's
Oh.
Anthony's assistant. So,
Ready to vote?
Sure.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear none, so it's 8-0-0.
okay.
Can I just make one comment, Gary, just because I wrote provides an additional exemption up to 100% of the amount of the personal tax exemption. Is that wrong now?
Just eliminate personal.
I mean,
100% of the exemption.
I'll take out personal.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter. You're all going to see this eventually anyway.
okay.
Okay, what else?
That's it. The only thing left now is the budget, and as I mentioned,
We're still negotiating? I mean, still,
we're still negotiating,
Okay.
and eventually I'll have to draw the line in the sand, obviously, because we've got to have an article, we have to have the article done with Schedule A. So hopefully by the end of the month, I'll either have the rest of the negotiations done, or more, the other three, two of the other three done, so.
So the articles are gonna be ready for town clerk by what, May 8th? Is that it?
May, May,
Hey, well,
basically 2 weeks, I
I think
think.
it's the 13th.
May 13th,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
be submitted to them.
Yeah, so, I mean, even if we had it to them that week, I don't think it'll be an issue. But my goal is to have Schedule A completed by this week here,
And we have faith in you, Gary.
at least by the 2nd. So we can vote on it by the 8th and then be done with Schedule A. Because remember, on the 28th, which is one of the items I have on the list here, the agenda, excuse me, is the next thing on the list, the priority list agenda for items for the select board on the 28th, the joint
so
meeting.
when are you gonna present a Schedule A?
Be on the 8th.
8th of May?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of late. I don't know how everybody feel. I mean, you don't think,
May 8th?
yeah, that's.
Town meeting is
Late
when?
for what?
June what? June
It's like
8th?
already- if-
What's the town
Can you
meeting?
bring the May calendar
That
forward?
might be the third. We could review everything in there.
So
and
if
be
it's got to
prepared
go
to
out by the
revote.
13th, if we vote on it on May 8th, that's kind of,
Wait, a minute, let me see. So the 28th is the, 28th is the meeting with the presentation.
With the select board, yeah.
Yeah, let's shoot for the 1st,
May
May
1st.
1st.
yeah. Okay.
Should be fine. I mean, because
I just don't like voting
Yeah.
4 days before.
my goal is by the 28th of April, if all the rest of the contracts
Okay.
haven't been settled, you know, it is what it is. We just leave, we just draw the line in the sand, and then we move forward with the Schedule A that we have. So, May 1st, we'll plan on the
Budget.
Schedule A, and then that'll prepare us well in advance for sending out the memo and
Okay.
everything.
So, the priority list of agenda items for the joint meeting with the select board.
I don't know if that was finalized.
There no grants, economic development,
Yeah, we had the main points.
and then what, there were two others, I think, right?
Was it 4? I think there was 4.
4, yeah, there were 4.
Well, all I have to do is read the minutes.
They're in the
Okay.
next someplace.
Well, why don't-
Busy with Claude.
Minutes over by.
Do they have any agenda items that they want to?
Grants, economic development, and short and long-term capital projects.
Oh, 3.
Okay.
So on Wednesday, I usually meet with the chair of the select board so the meeting's the 28th. I'll be meeting with the select board chair on the 23rd, and we develop the agenda items there. So they may have questions back to the committee.
Oh, they're
Which-
gonna, are
which-
they actually gonna have an agenda this time,
Well-
or is it just us?
Well, we generate an agenda on the select board. What I'll ask the chair on the 23rd, when I meet with her, is that, does the select board have any agenda items for the finance committee? And then I can report back on the 24th. the meeting's
So
the
we
next
know
day.
it ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. 24th is our next meeting.
So, all right, so
All right,
part of the presentation is going to be I'm hoping we can get the finance committee report for town meeting to present to them.
All right, well, I, for the actual meeting with I think I volunteered to do the economic development thing, for the meeting with the
Select
select
board.
board. So what I'll do is I'll write it up and keep it short and circulate it to everybody, and then you can
Okay.
have at it. and
Good.
change it around.
Okay?
Good.
So
Do that in a few days.
do we want to look at the finance committee report to town meeting?
Is this the letter?
You mean the letter?
latest- Yeah, the letter.
Okay,
Because I'd like to give it to them
right, that'd be
ahead
good.
ahead of time.
All right, so in pursuit of that, Janine, myself, and Gary met today for about 2 hours. And what we did is we looked at the old letter. Janine had already sent out
I
a
saw that.
boilerplate
Yeah.
inserting the proper numbers.
Yeah.
But then we looked at, today, we looked at the charts. And what we looked at was to see if we could make them more meaningful and whether we wanted to keep charts or get rid of charts. And then we also put together, which Janine, I'm going to go through the charts that we decided to keep or get rid of, subject to you guys all approving them, and show you the charts that we feel that might replace them to be more meaningful. And basically, the difference is that these new charts have an explanation at the bottom of them, which explains what's going on in the chart, which we didn't have last time. And then Janine and I and Gary agreed to, after I get through showing you the charts, that we had an outline for the conclusion part of the letter to town meeting. So
Do
if
you want the,
look-
do
Sorry.
you want the?
Oh, yeah, somebody's got to plug me in here.
Yeah, and I just,
You need the cord, and you need to plug it into that, and you need to plug it
I,
into your...
I sent Janine a write-up on, because I want to talk about actuals.
Yeah.
I added a
So-
section
so-
from Bob to the
so
letter.
we're
Where am I
gonna-
plugging in?
And I had Donna Fernandez double-check my numbers, and she made some adjustments, so I'll be sending the final one to her. Now, on the charts, do we have the source? We always,
Yes.
okay, we have the source, okay.
So.
Give it a
nothing's
minute.
Working.
takes a minute to think.
Yeah, it's coming up, now here.
It's coming up. Oh, goody, I love it when it's white text on black.
Yeah.
So we went, we took the old chart, the old letter, which is
Yep.
June 4th, 2024, and the first two charts, which was general fund operating expenses and general fund operating revenues, we said we wanted to keep it. You'll all remember, I don't have it in front of me, but it's the pie charts.
Yep.
In color, and they'll be updated by Gary. Gary, tell me if you're going to be updating these so that they show the numbers for this year as opposed to last year. So the third chart was local receipts, which was a bar chart. And we decided, subject to you guys looking at it, that it really didn't say much. It stays about the same. And is really not controlled by us. It's controlled by the state, how much comes back to us. So we decided to take it out.
Okay, well, I think when I talk about actuals, it'll accomplish what doesn't really show here. You know what
Well,
I'm saying?
and then the other point is also local receipts are in the bar chart, I mean, in the circle chart.
Circle
in the
chart, okay,
previous-
okay.
Previous page. So we took it out, it was
Okay.
kind of redundant.
Okay.
What we did do is change, would like to suggest that something like this be included for Town of Dartmouth state aid. And what this chart shows is 3 lines. The green line is a trend line. The blue line is what they call a nominal line, which is the actual amount of money that they, in hard terms, that they give us. And then the third red line is what that really represents in terms of inflation.
Okay,
So-
I'm only seeing 2 lines, so I don't
The
know.
green one is
The blue,
just
yeah.
above the blue line.
Yeah, it's very faint.
It's
Oh,
very
okay,
faint.
all right, okay.
All right? So I'll just give you some commentary
All right,
on this.
all right, can I just say something?
Yes, of course.
All right, so there's a green line, a blue line, a red line.
Yep,
Where's the key for the green line?
it's not on there.
Oh,
and
okay.
It has to be included.
Okay, okay, all right, okay.
Because there's so much I can do.
Yeah, okay, I got you, I
All
got
right?
you.
But that's a good call, because I had the same question.
All right, Brian, quickly, so on page after the pie charts, have you gotten that far as what on that page will be eliminated?
Yes, local receipts are.
Okay, that's
coming
going,
down.
okay,
Okay.
all right,
Then we're going right to state aid.
gotcha.
So the net, if you look at that, the trend is up, the nominal value, that is what they actually give us in terms of dollars, but if you factor in inflation, it's actually down.
Yeah,
So here's the commentary that we'll put under it or suggest, and what I'll do is I'll send them out to everybody. I sent them out to Janine and Gary this afternoon, but I'll send them out to everybody else so they can take a look at it and make sure they agree. But anyhow, the key observations, the data shows that state aid to the town of Dartmouth has grown from 11.5 million in 2015 to 14.3 in 2025, and representing a nominal increase of 23.97 over the decade. The trend shows consistently yearly increases except for 2021, when there was a slight decrease of 9.97. So the key observations are nominal growth, which is the blue line. The overall increase of 23.97% represents an annual growth rate of 2.17%. Year-to-year changes, the strongest growth occurred in the most recent year, 2025, at 4.84, while the only decline was in 2021, which is 0.97, possibly related to pandemic budget adjustments. Item 3, the inflation impact. When adjusted for inflation, the picture changes dramatically. Using estimated inflation rates for this period, the real value of state aid in 2015 dollars actually decreased by 8.57%. Point 4, purchasing power. Despite receiving nearly 2.9 million more in 2025 compared to 2015, the town's purchasing power with those funds has declined. The inflation-adjusted value of the 2025 aid is about $10.6 million in 2015 dollars, which is nearly $1 million less than the 2015 allocation. Recent trend, inflation-adjusted value appears to have stabilized and slightly increased in 2025 after several years of decline, suggesting a potential positive shift in the nominal increases, continue to outpace inflation. The analysis demonstrates how inflation can significantly impact government funding. When nominal increases might appear positive, the real value of state aid to Dartmouth has not kept pace with inflation over the decade, resulting in a reduced purchasing power for the town despite higher dollar amounts.
Okay, one thing I would just add, what is your source for the
The
inflation?
source for
number?
this is the actual state DLS data.
Okay, DLS.
Regional local services.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so
That's
that's their inflation number, right?
No, the inflation number is a AI inflation number. They have nothing, they just have straight nominal dollars, they have nothing.
Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is, there's inflation numbers issued by the federal government, there's inflation numbers that, AI, you're saying is just generated by
It's
AI?
just, it's generated as a
AI, okay.
inflation.
This is-
Yeah, okay, I mean, it's reasonable, I don't think.
I think one of the points we made today, that a lot of this stuff that I'm gonna show you is directional. The exact numbers may not be entirely correct. Gary said that he would try and clean up the numbers
Yeah.
as best we could before town meeting. But I don't think anybody can deny
No, it's directionally, yeah,
that it's
absolutely.
directionally, we're
Yeah.
getting less money.
So is the state, we get state aid mainly from two sources, chapter 70 and chapter 90. Is this,
Those are the main sources.
yeah, those are the main
Yeah.
sources.
There are other small amounts.
So is that, but is this both 70 and 90?
It's whatever was on, whatever DLS
okay.
records.
Yeah, and I think, what Brian did, he also went on the
I went-
site and got them.
Okay.
I took them
Yeah.
off the DLS.
All right,
Right,
site.
no, you
that's the
did
source,
take
okay.
I have no
Okay,
idea what.
Okay,
what
well,
they
no,
included.
my actuals, I'm tying out numbers, so that's why.
Well, these would be
Yeah,
actuals,
yeah,
according
yeah.
to
Yeah,
DLS.
Yeah,
Which is a good source.
It's the only source.
okay,
So
okay.
I do have a question, Brian.
Yes,
Not
oh,
to-
sorry, and we wouldn't show this bar chart down here, just this one,
Just the top.
and then that's all, with the commentary that I just read.
Brian, could you hover over 2025 for a second? I just want to see the blue.
25. Oh, and this is interactive. I don't think when we publish it, it's not going to
Yeah.
be interactive.
Okay.
Hold on. 14, is that what you wanted to look at?
Mhm.
14, I think that's down, that's off a little bit, but not much.
Right, you don't see that information on the printed piece.
No, you wouldn't be able
No,
to see it.
no,
Is that what you wanted?
yeah, thanks.
Okay.
I do have a question, Brian, for
Yes,
you.
sir.
How does this pale as far as, or compare, I should say, to other communities that are suburbs, not so much urbans, not
No
like
idea.
Fall Rivers and New Bedford,
No
but
idea.
That's a whole other chart.
I
That's
bet,
on
no,
DLS.
and I don't want to create more work, I'm just thinking aloud, if you will, that'd be nice, maybe can't do it this time, but maybe down the road, we could do something, see if by chance we're getting less than some other
Yeah.
suburbs
I
are.
pulled information, because I had showed this, I think, to Bob and Gary, actually. I pulled information from DLS with what we consider to be like communities, of which there are 10 or 12, whatever they are.
Yep.
I mean, it's different for every town, but
I'm
you know,
sure it
there's so
is.
many contributing factors to that. That's a
Sure it
whole
is.
other analysis.
I would just, and I know,
It's
you're
interesting.
you're absolutely right, Ginny, and there's different particulars that occur through every community, but I'd just be curious to see, as far as overall distribution of money.
I can send you a chart.
You are the woman, you know that, thank you.
I know, I try.
All right, thank you.
The next one from, I'm going to move on to,
Yep,
and what
go ahead.
I'll do is, I'll send these out to everybody, and I'll send out the commentary, and then you can come back to me and tell me where you agree, disagree, add something, take something out, and take it from there. And I'll say that we're not going to use this one, because it's too much information.
yeah,
We're just going to
yeah,
use that
yeah.
one. Next one, we considered tax year levy trend analysis. And we felt by the time we got through with these other charts, it would show this. And basically what this showed was that the residential, which will show in other charts, is way by far the biggest contributor to revenues for the town.
That's what my actuals show too.
Yeah,
That's nice, that's a correlation there.
That's an eliminate, right?
so that's an eliminate.
And if you haven't
take
seen
that
it,
one
it's not an exciting chart by
Good.
any means. That's why we thought, no.
out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, the next one is that we kept, but we changed it around a little bit. This is hard to, I have to come up, hold on a second. This is the population trend of the town. This one we found very interesting. The problem with these previous charts are, there's no commentary on them. I mean, all you can take from the original chart was that it might be going down, but this one is interesting
Oh, this one.
because it
Yes.
shows, wrong one, hold on.
Yeah. See, that doesn't look familiar.
Hold on. Might be this one. Oh, yeah, it's this one. All right,
The bar one, yeah.
so this is the one we'd want to use. And with this one, and the reason this is important, as we go through it, this one is a population trend by age group over the past decade. The data reveals several important demographic shifts which have to do with, which have an impact on the ability to generate tax revenue, especially within certain groups that live on fixed incomes. So if you look at that chart, and I'll read across, first thing you have to see is an aging population. The median age in Dartmouth has increased from 43.2% years in 2015 to 45.9 years in 2024. Significant growth in the older population, that is 65 to 74, increased in that time period 35.3%, and the 55 to 64 age group grew by 21.4. So there's a decline, if you follow the bar chart across, in the 45 to 54 year age group declined by 21.1%, and the 75-plus age group decreased by 12.3%. The under 18 population decreased by 7.2%. The issue with this is that the 65 to 74 and the 55 to 64 probably live on fixed incomes, and the 45 to, sorry, where is it?
35.
35 group, that one's increased, but the 45 to 54 has declined, and those are the folks that maybe paid the most taxes. So the people that have money are declining, and the people who live on fixed income are increasing. So if you think about who pays the taxes, that creates a problem.
Yes, it does.
And the overall population of the town grew by only 2.0% over the decade, from 34,032 to 34,700. So this is data that we had previously, that over 10 years, the population is flat to declining, and it's only growing in the older group, and it's declining in the folks that pay most of the taxes. So, going forward, that's not a very pleasant
Oh, not at all.
thing for the town. And that's what the commentators say. The next thing we kept was per capita income. And the only thing I said that we'll use is this one, which actually shows the declines and increases. Okay. Next one is per capita income. Capita. Wrong one. Hold on. Nope, still wrong. I did some different iterations on this, that's why I have to find the right one. Nope, that's not the right one either.
Yeah, that's the per capita
Yeah.
income check. Is that what you just said?
Well, while he's looking for that, I mean, I think, I think what you see is people aging in place.
Yep.
You know, it really, if you're retired and you've paid off your house, and the house is worth a lot of money, but, you know, you're paying your taxes and insurance, and, you know, you gotta feel bad for people, you know, a couple of kids renting an apartment, you know, what they're paying is like outrageous.
Yep.
So,
Is there not enough options for seniors to sell their house and buy something
That's right.
affordable?
yeah.
Well, the problem too is that the only thing that's really going up in value, which we have a chart, are the values of the houses. This per capita income thing, if I can find it, will show that if you factor in inflation, people having less money to spend
Right.
on anything, including taxes.
A trend that we might see moving forward, Brian, is I think you're gonna see more multifamily in one home. So
That
if you
might help,
remember in
yeah.
the previous, we passed.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
Yeah, in the
I'm
past, we
glad-
passed.
I'm glad you bring that up, because
Yes,
the
so I
other, the other
think-
thing it should be affecting is zoning, because
Yeah.
we should be going after multifamily housing
Yes,
of older people who don't drain resources from the
Right.
system.
right.
So
So
this
you'll
has
see more in-law
far-reaching-
type apartments
Right.
coming off
Or,
of,
or even
their homes.
large apartment buildings.
Right.
Not large, but I mean apartment buildings that cater to empty nesters.
Are
right.
you proposing any narratives under these last two?
Yes,
you
I'm,
showed?
yeah, that's, I'm gonna give you the
So we'll look at
narrative,
that,
I can
okay.
find it.
Yeah,
Because if you, and I'll be sending it out to you, because if you put all this stuff together, I mean, hold on.
but, you know, when you look at, you know, expenses, I don't know about anybody here, but and I've never had a claim in 35 years on my house. It went up $1,000 for house insurance,
Yep.
you know, and, so that's where,
You have replacement value on
This
your,
is not the right
yeah,
one.
so
yeah,
that's what it is, because
Yeah.
the insurance agencies are estimating with the increase in
Yeah.
construction costs. I had
Bear
the
with
same
me.
experience.
yeah. So,
Like you're saying, Bob, people will, you know, the older generation will actually need their children to move in to help them with the bills. I mean, I see this with my father-in-law. You know, he can't afford it on his own anymore. It's just too expensive.
And if you look at the ADUs, the law that's gone into place now, that it's even, makes it even more attractive for people to live home,
Yeah,
adding on livable space to the houses that they already have.
right. Multiple reasons for that, yep.
This is not the right one either.
Helps to care for aging parents. Also, if both parents have to work, they can have a, you know, grandparent there to help with the children, getting them on and off the bus. I mean, it just
Yeah.
seems like that's where we're heading back to. It seems like my generation moved away from it, but we seem to be heading back in that direction.
yeah, well, I think people living longer, even though that
Yeah.
number kind of changed a little bit because of COVID,
Yeah,
but I think now that COVID's done, I think you're gonna start seeing the, you know, the numbers increase.
agreed.
Okay, so this one, I think this is the one I want. If not, I'll send you the right one, but I think this one gives us a good indication of what's going on. So this one shows Dartmouth per capita income nominal versus real, and nominal, again, is the actual number
Yep.
that's recorded somewhere, and real is after the inflation. So what this chart says is, Dartmouth's nominal per capita income grew from 24,300 in 2000 to an estimated $52,098 in 2025, representing a 114% increase over that time period. When adjusted for inflation, that is 2025 dollars, the real income growth was modest, from 44626 to 52098, or a 17% increase. The compound annual growth rate was 3.09 for nominal income, but only 6.62 for real income, showing the significant impact of inflation. The 2023 period shows a decline in real income despite nominal growth, reflecting high inflation during that period. Dartmouth's cost of living index is 32.2% higher than the average US average, which substantially reduces the effective purchasing power of residents.
Okay, but how does that compare to, when you say national, that's Massachusetts as a whole?
No,
So-
this is Dartmouth compared to the rest
I'm
of.
sorry?
This is Dartmouth compared to the
Right,
rest.
you
of
said Dartmouth compared to the national.
Yeah.
How does Dartmouth compare to Massachusetts?
I don't know.
I think if you look
That's
at any
more-
town in Massachusetts, you're gonna see it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And to
that
Terry's
may be
point,
correct.
that'd be skewed,
I was
Brian,
only
to use
interested
national.
in When adjusted for the local cost of living, 2023 per capita income of $49,149 is the equivalent of only $37,178 in areas with average U.S. costs. So the conclusion is the data reveals that while Dartmouth has experienced significant nominal income growth since 2000, the combination of inflation and high local cost of living has substantially moderated the real economic benefit to residents. The slow real income growth, 0.62 annually, indicates that resident standard of living has improved only modestly over this period when accounting for inflation. Future economic development strategies for Dartmouth might benefit from focusing not just on income growth, but also addressing high cost of living. I don't know how you would do that, but my point is to say that while it looks like it's gone up,
Right.
on a nominal basis, if you factor in inflation, you've actually got less spending power, which, if you work back to paying taxes, doesn't enhance the situation.
Right.
The only thing I would suggest, Brian, is that we do comparisons to Massachusetts
Right.
rather than the
Yeah.
nation.
I'm going to send this out, and then you,
Because when I look at the school, for example, you could look at any town in Massachusetts, they're all in the same position that Dartmouth is in. And I think
yeah.
it's important for people to know that that's not, and I think that's true of Dartmouth in terms of their per capita. It's the same issue across the board.
Right.
The cost of living in Massachusetts is very high.
right.
compared to
But
the rest of
still,
the country.
what I'm saying is it impacts the ability ultimately, especially with
People
an
pay.
aging population, to be able to collect these taxes.
Right.
And that's,
Right.
so it's an issue. All right,
Yep.
don't, all right. Then, the next
Oh, my
one,
God, he's not done yet?
I'm almost done.
Please. And you know, Brian, I've been meaning to talk, you might be developing an unhealthy relationship with Claude. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
When you start hearing him talk to you about what's going on.
Well, he was at the meeting today, I didn't want to.
He was.
I didn't want to mention it. Okay, and then the last one, but then Janine has some other interesting stuff.
But kudos for using AI, because that's
Thank you.
really what you're, yeah.
Bad for
and
a
this is-
geezer, right?
Right, this is what
Geezer?
it's,
Yeah, that's me.
right, exactly, this is what it's here for.
All right, so this is new growth value by property class, which we included last year. And we would suggest we do it again this year. And this is my point of saying that this chart shows how much we rely on residential taxes,
Yeah.
which perhaps we should be trying to get more industrial and commercial, and fits in with economic development.
Right.
Bear with me while I find it. Financial state aid analyzing. Per capita.
So these would be good points to bring up when we talk with the select board, that,
That's
you
my
know,
plan. I haven't got it
yeah.
yet. So what I'm gonna do is write that, and then I'll circulate it to everybody, and they can have at it.
Okay.
Let me just find this last one. I think this is it.
So, excuse me for asking
yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
So we're gonna present all these charts and,
No,
you know,
not to the select board.
all right, so at some point in time, we're gonna present these charts, not the select board, but to someone
It's
out there.
going-
It's
If you
on me,
guys
it's on
agree,
me.
it's going
It's on
in
me.
the.
No, but let me expand on that, please, okay? Let me expand on that if I may. So we have all these charts and everything, and I would presume we're gonna have some type of conclusion or recommendations to these, besides just the charts and, you know, okay, so we will throw something
Janine's
together.
gonna show you what we came up with.
Excellent.
So far, it's a
So
draft.
Okay, good, thank you.
Rough draft.
All right, so this one shows new property. Again, I did a couple iterations of this. Oh, let me see, is this the right one? No, because of population again, sorry.
while he's looking for that, with this select board meeting, when we go to select board meetings, they usually do the talking. I would rather we do the talking.
Yes, that's why I wanted to know if they had an agenda.
There's going to be an agenda, to my
Yes,
knowledge.
we need to have an agenda.
They have an agenda.
Yeah.
I would
And,
like to
and
see
you-
their
well,
agenda.
You're gonna submit this, once you get the 3 or 4 bullet points, submit it to me and I'll
Yeah.
make sure that's on their agenda, but I need
Yeah.
that by Tuesday of next week. 'Cause
Okay, you're
Wednesday
just
is
talking about the topic. You don't need
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah, we don't need that,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so what this one shows, again, nominal growth, and then this is residential. And this, we had already pointed out that that supplies most of the revenue.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, that was a key chart,
Right, and-
with the commercial industrial being flat.
Look at, and commercial and industrial is hardly
I
anything.
think that's a very good slide to share.
And when we tax at the max, so we already tax at the max,
Yeah.
commercial and the
So
residential rates.
here's what's gonna show,
That's an important point
Yes.
to include, because you made that change last year,
well,
right?
and then, just to state the obvious again, if it's so much on residential and the population that lives on fixed income is increasing and the population that might contribute more from taxes is leaving town or going someplace that isn't here, then relying on that blue line, which is residential, is really fraught with incredible problems. So anyhow, what this says is that the new residential values increased significantly over the decade with a nominal compound annual growth rate of 9.31%, or 6.44 adjusted for inflation. Commercial property growth slowed considerably during the pandemic period, 2019 to 2021, showing a decline of 16.9%. Residential share of new growth increased from 82.12 in 2014 to 88.59 in 2024, while commercial declined from 11.9 to 7.45. Industrial properties have maintained the smallest but most stable share of new growth through the decade. Post-pandemic recovery, 21 to 24, showed growth across all property classes, with residential continuing to lead at 31.88. When adjusted for inflation, the real growth rates are more modest, but still positive, indicating a genuine growth beyond inflationary effects. So the purpose of showing this is that we can't be relying so much on residential, and we've got to beef up commercial and industrial, which leads to the economic development along Route 6. And we've got a ready-made mixed-use zoning, housing thing. And the other thing, I have another report, which I think will be part of whatever I present. I'll show that to you guys before I do, that talks about emphasizing all the, medical is obviously one, and there's about 4 or 5 others, that for some reason, we don't know what at this point, that companies like to come to Dartmouth in these particular categories. So instead of just doing things like listing a vacant property list, we should be looking to, in these particular categories, trying to find out how we can entice more of these companies to come here. And we have to build a sales pitch for that. Like, one of the things might be, we have relatively good taxes compared to other towns, and there might be a whole host of other things. But instead of being passive, be very proactive about trying to develop that Route 6 corridor.
All right, so Janine, you want to throw your stuff in? Are
What?
you going to do,
Yep, you're gonna.
Oh, you mean the conclusion
yeah,
part of the letter?
conclusion.
yeah, well, can you bring up what I sent you today? And I
Of
just
course, but I need the,
Cable.
you need-
He's the cable.
So what I'll do is I'll send everybody this thing that I just went through. And you guys can have at it and send it back.
Okay, good. That's good, fine. Good work.
Yeah, very good. So, were you an economics professor? Or
No.
he's a
I'm just
research
logical.
beast,
Sorry, can't kill me. Excuse me for being logical, right?
research beast.
And I said this 4 years ago, exactly the same thing.
You did, I remember.
I did.
Everybody's dying to look at the agenda.
Yeah, I just sent this to Janine today, and we're gonna throw the actuals, which we've talked about before.
Oh, you've already incorporated, Janine, into the memo?
Bob's section, yes, I did.
Yeah,
Thank you for making it nice and big, too.
so, and I just did a couple of paragraphs.
Do you want to just look at your part, or how would you
Yeah,
like to
well,
do
I'll
this?
just read it. The budget process began, wait a second, no, that's not it.
You have to enlarge that a little bit, yeah.
It's an eye exam.
Just testing your laser vision, Bobby.
All right, all right.
Take it back.
What is that? Oh, it's down there. This one?
That little
What I-
slide.
I wrote a couple of paragraphs, and then we're gonna put in the numbers.
Beautiful, perfect.
Can you read it? 'Cause I can't.
Are you just reading your paragraphs?
Yeah, we're
Hang on.
I just did a couple of paragraphs, and what I did
Starting
was.
there, I just,
Okay,
as I said, I changed the words slightly to
Okay.
blend it.
so it's just, the point I want to make here is I'm kind of leaving it to interpretation, because we're going to put the numbers below, the actuals for the last 3 years, and look at the differences. So as mandated by law, each year the town prepares a budget for approval at town meeting. Throughout this process, we carefully analyze differences between prior years' budget requirements and the current needs of the town. While some budget increases reflect discretionary improvements to town services, others represent non-negotiable or non-discretionary requirements, such as recent cyber security enhancements implemented due to the cyber attacks on government systems. You changed that quite a bit. We recognize the need to review the actual expenditures, because actual income and expenses provide the most accurate indicator of the municipal costs. The attached schedule represents actual revenue and expenses for 3 years, with the last column on the right showing the 2-year average increase or decrease. The percentages tell a story, which we invite you to interpret. We've excluded debt service and school committee construction costs, as these are managed differently from day-to-day costs associated with providing resident services.
And then you're gonna, after that, you're gonna insert the whatever.
We're gonna put the numbers. So that's gonna, yeah, we're gonna put the numbers. So, I mean, I looked at the numbers today, and, what actuals, when you look at it, general government went up high. When I did this whole thing with Donna Fernandez, I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't think general government would have gone up that much. And schools actually didn't really, with inflation, I mean, they went up a reasonable amount. Voc went up a lot. So I'm just trying to get along to the select board and to town meeting members that really, at the end of the year, we look at, okay, what's the budget increase? Well, it's 3.3, it's 3.5. That doesn't really tell you the direction. Actuals do, because once you have, when you add a non-discretionary thing like cybersecurity, we need. We need it, especially after some of those things. You can't not do it. But there are some discretionary ones that you can make a decision on not doing or not doing. So that's my 2 cents.
It was a good addition.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's great.
So, Bob, what will the chart look like? It's not gonna be the entire, that's gonna be hard to fit in there. How's that gonna look?
You can do
You said insert chart.
It's not a chart, it's the
this
numbers.
commentary.
Oh, it just says insert chart.
Yeah, it's the,
Oh, I thought you had numbers.
I
Is it gonna
do.
be an Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. the
yeah, I'm
Excel
gonna pop the Excel spreadsheet in there.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
attachment.
how big is it? That's what we're asking.
Yeah, I guess, because that'll be
How
hard
big
to,
is it?
an Excel
So it's-
spreadsheet's gonna be hard to
Just the
read.
table.
Is it a
right?
page? Is it a
It's a
half
page.
page?
It's a page.
It's a full page.
Is it a table or a graph?
I would put that on a separate page altogether.
All right,
As an
yeah,
It's not gonna
attachment,
fit in a
yeah.
little-
yeah, all right,
This
that's,
will probably flow, will have to be the next page.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's fine. I'll worry about that.
We'll see how, we'll see how it looks, and if we gotta eliminate, but it really has all the numbers, that's why, and all the percentages, so that's why I wanted to throw that in there.
Well, send me that so I can put it in and we can
Yep.
see how it flows.
Yeah, Donna, what I did was I sent it to Donna, and I asked her to make sure, because I did this the last session, and it was actual, so it shouldn't change, but there were some changes. So, so she sent me them, so I'll verify that and just, we'll put it in. Okay, I'm done.
On the first part of the letter, which is what I had sent out before, it's truly a draft. I didn't write it to make it mine. Did anybody have any comments or concerns or additions to the opening of this? I'm not going to read it.
No.
So,
I think you did a good job.
No, Jean, you always do a really good job. You're
Well,
very
thank
good
you,
with
but
words.
not necessarily.
yeah, you do.
But anyway, if there was anything else you thought should be in there, I just really wanted to make it clear that we had done things differently this year.
Yep.
Okay, and then, so this section is literally the same, except, obviously, the numbers need to be changed. The only numbers that are accurate are these at the bottom. I took them from the warrant.
Okay.
Actually, those are still accurate, yeah. But we just need to update the
Yeah,
rest
once
of
that
it.
gets-
It's just a
schedule gets
general, overall snapshot of the budget. And my assumption was that we were recommending it.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I don't know at this point, and once again, these categories can change. These just happen to be categories that we've used in the past. Always open for something different. Because we had a section that was a whole summary that had all sorts of things in it, and I haven't made any attempt to do anything with it. I didn't know if anybody else had put anything together at this point. I don't know.
You saying the budget summary? Are you saying the budget summary, or?
Correct. Has anybody else had anything to add to the letter?
last week we talked about a lot of the information that's in that is really pertinent to
Yeah,
this year. It talks about long-term capital, it talks about,
Yeah, it's ongoing.
so I don't know if I would necessarily remove long-term capital, because it's probably more
Hang
important
on a
now than
second,
ever.
I'm looking at it.
I wouldn't, yeah.
I leave that in there.
And I would like to, I haven't done it yet, but I will work on a paragraph on anticipating school
Okay.
issues, school challenges, because at the school, we'll talk about this later, at the school committee meeting last week, they actually said the O word, so I think
What's
it's
the O
worth.
word?
Override.
Override.
We don't say it out loud.
You know, they've generally supported the plan you guys talked about. They thanked, you know, everybody, finance committee, but it only removes one issue from that.
Yeah, and I think also in here, we talk about COVID, I mean, that probably could be eliminated at this
We
point.
could get that,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we had about a page, because it travels to,
Yeah.
we had about a page of information there that was, whatever. Is that what you're going to attempt to?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
good.
work on that and get it to you.
Sounds
The
good.
only other suggestion I have, and I'm trying to find it on here, you probably can find it in a second, the readability of the, whatever we send out, I'd like to keep the readability around 8th grade.
Yeah.
And not above, not because we're trying to dumb anything down, but just to access that information. It's pretty technical. We want people to read it. We don't want people, you know,
Absolutely.
using the dictionary when they're writing. So I'd like to see what it comes out
Okay.
as when we're done.
And limit use of abbreviations too, because I
Yeah.
think the
Yeah,
common
that
public
makes it-
doesn't
yeah.
know.
And I think
don't.
too, I think we pushed for this last year, that the more pictures, the more graphics, the better off.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more graphics, the better, I agree.
Oh, we have
Yeah.
beautiful charts, Brian.
I'm not talking about my charts, I'm talking about charts other places.
Right, it makes sense.
Okay.
The only other piece that I did put together, and Brian sent me some notes that I rewrote, some from our discussion today. I went with what I had suggested earlier, which was not a black cloud of doom, but a nice splash of
Like that?
optimism.
Well.
Because we can easily be in a black cloud of doom.
Well,
Just saying, before I read it.
all right, well, I want to see what
I
the.
said that for Brian's benefit because he's much more
Yeah, but hold on.
specific.
But hold on, I also gave specific solutions.
And they're in here,
Okay,
because you know me, optimism, happiness,
I missed the reality.
looking forward.
Mr. Reality.
Anyway, this is what I put together so far. Once again, very much a rough draft. Municipal costs have been experiencing several key growth pressures. These are primarily driven by, and in yellow, Gary, just for your, I want to make sure that they're in what we consider to be correct.
Well, but he can check that as we proceed.
Correct. That's why they're in yellow, just so we can double check to make sure that we agree healthcare costs are typically growing at 5 to 8%
Yeah,
annually.
that's, I would put in there, 10 to, anywhere between 10 and 15, well, 10 to 13% annually.
Yeah, that's probably more realistic.
Okay.
Pension obligations, yeah, I would leave that alone, that's good. Expense educations, yeah, that's good.
That's probably accurate, yeah.
Yep.
Then infrastructure, maintenance, and improvements, and have number energy and utility costs. If expenses continue to rise at projected rates, Dartmouth could face significant cost increases over the next 5 years, and the increased tax and service cost burden will impact homeowners on fixed incomes. Affordability concerns could emerge for both homeowners and renters as landlords pass on increases. Despite the challenges of rising costs and inflation, Dartmouth has clear opportunities to maintain our community's financial health and competitive advantage. We are confident that through proactive planning and strategic initiatives, we can chart a more favorable course. Consider the following: expand the commercial tax base, create mixed-use zoning overlays to help grow the commercial tax base, potentially offsetting some increases. 2, operational efficiencies. Finding ways to deliver services more efficiently could reduce the rate of cost increases. 3, strategic growth. Encouraging growth in high-value commercial sectors could provide more tax revenue with less demand for services. Regional partnerships. Sharing services with neighboring communities could reduce costs. Grant funding. Aggressively pursuing state and federal grants for infrastructure and other needs could reduce pressure on the tax base. The town's ability to attract new growth, particularly commercial development, will be crucial in moderating tax increases. This approach, combined with a focus on attracting targeted business development, positions us to strengthen our revenue streams in a sustainable manner. Our community's financial resilience will depend on balancing thoughtful growth with prudent fiscal management. The implementation of operational efficiencies, pursuit of regional partnerships, and aggressive grant funding strategies will be instrumental in controlling costs while maintaining the high-quality services our residents expect and deserve. Dartmouth's future depends on thoughtful financial stewardship. By working together, we'll maintain our community's affordability while strengthening our economic foundation. We'll preserve our competitive tax advantage, attract new businesses, and create an environment where residents can thrive for generations.
I mean, one thought that I have is putting in there someplace the process of long-term planning, not just long-term capital planning, because there's been some discussion about changing that focus a little bit of that group, whether that group gets expanded or what, I don't know what will happen to it, but
You like to the budget advice?
yeah, the process of planning for the future, which is what
Yeah.
you've described
That
here.
today.
Yeah.
Do you see that as one of those points? So we have 6 points where it's, where I have expand commercial up that,
Yeah,
expand long-term planning or
yeah.
focus on long-term plan?
Yeah, continue the process of long-term planning, because
Yeah.
we want to make sure that that continues.
Yeah, I agree 100% because the long-term capital planning is only one step.
Right,
Right.
right.
It should include the operational budget and it should include,
Yeah.
well, that should be the total, because
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of this is gonna
All-
come out of the residential tax rate going forward.
I'll put some,
Came up because we couldn't even start our conversation until we talked about the elephant in the room. You know, we had to talk
the
about
school.
healthcare, we had to talk about the school. So then you can start focusing on things like that. That's another area.
I'll
Gary's done
add a
a
better
great
sentence
job.
after that, that's very redundant.
Okay.
Any other thoughts?
I have a,
I have to leave.
all right,
Okay.
So I'm going to turn this over to Janine. But I just want to thank everybody, because I just want to say, when I first started, and Terry was there before me, all we did was vote and do the rationales, and we were done. And she started the process, and, you know, we've improved every single year, and a lot of people on this committee have added some really good teeth to some of the stuff that we've thing. So I just want to thank you.
okay, I'd just like to bring up one point, and this is like doom and gloom, but I don't think it should be in there. I agree with,
She's right on.
I agree with Janine. But, I mean, there has to be something eventually.
Good night, Bob.
Some of the analysis I
We'll
did,
probably see you Easter Sundays. Okay.
some of the analysis that I did on this, if we don't actually execute these mitigating factors, the tax rate could go, in 5 years, could go up between 21 to 35%. And factor in on top of that, aging people.
Yeah.
So we have to do this, is what it boils down to.
You know, an interesting point that I keep thinking about this, but you brought up, Brian, in your analysis, was the exodus of younger people leaving the community. And I like to know the reason why. Is there a certain demographic? Is it,
Housing,
well,
it's housing bill, they can't afford to buy a house.
Affordability.
yeah, but
Yeah,
here's
they can't
here's the
afford it.
deal. Are these people, are they tradespeople? Are they service people? I'm just curious about the demo, no, it doesn't tell us anything, it just says
No,
it.
but the age group
The
is,
age group does, but it doesn't tell us the demographic within the age group, Terry. And I'm just curious, and maybe I'm being too intrinsic about it, but I like to analyze
You mean,
things.
you're talking about sort of the middle-aged group?
Yeah, I mean, is it certainly, is it because of better
I mean,
job opportunities?
I can give a comment on that.
Certainly.
Only from my own
Sure.
experience. Jobs.
Yeah.
I never worked in this area.
Well, I never
I
did
worked
either.
very high-travel jobs.
So did I.
There was never happening that I would work in
So did
Dartmouth,
I.
or even
You're
within a
right.
30-mile radius.
Yes.
And so that fits in, unfortunately, very,
35 years.
well,
Yep.
it
Same thing
fits
with me.
in very
Same
nicely
thing.
also, if you look at the trends for commercial and industrial here. There's no place to work. It's flat. They're declining.
Well,
So
there's
why would you stay
very
here?
specific types of jobs as
Yeah.
part of it as well. Because, I mean, I know you work in technology. I worked in high-tech.
I
That
think-
wasn't happening around here.
I think a large portion of our community work in healthcare. I work with a
Right.
lot of people that work
Right.
in healthcare. And it's a dual parents, like both parents have to work in order to be able to
Yeah,
afford
sure,
the mortgage.
for sure,
And it's really expensive for working, for, basically, you're talking about nurses and engineers for the most part.
Yeah.
So,
So, but all this stuff dovetails, is what I'm trying to say. And it all starts to make a lot of sense of why you
Yeah.
have to do stuff like this.
I mean, I don't think you're ever gonna solve the job issue around here. It's just
No.
been that way for years. There's
Tricky one.
nothing moving down here that would precipitate any type of job growth, really.
They've tried in the past, Bill, and this
They-
goes back many years, but they tried to bring in, I forget what the name of the company was. It was in South Dartmouth.
I know
It was
what it was.
technology, it's technology
was.
now, by the way, that's
Yeah.
like dead and old, but, which happens in a
And
very
I thi-
short
and
time
I-
frame.
Good.
It was disks or storage or something like that, and it just, I don't know, I think it got
But-
voted out.
You know why I got voted out? Because
Well-
it was in South Dartmouth, that's why I got voted
Yeah,
out.
I was going
okay?
to say something like that, but.
there's
It
not
was
a lot
all
of
have to do with
availability of housing.
politics.
There's not a lot of what?
There's not a lot of availability left of housing. Like, if you look on Zillow, there's not a lot of houses for sale anymore. And certainly not affordable houses for sale in Dartmouth, so that's one problem. I do think that the train is gonna stop bringing in a
Oh, it
little
will,
bit more.
For sure.
Yeah, so I think if we start seeing the elderly sell, then we might see people buying up land that
Yeah.
are,
And that's what I envision, Carrie. I envision this because the train's gonna be like another bedroom community.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I've been in IT and I work with a lot of young programmers, in the Boston area, and they couldn't afford to move to Somerville or any of these places. The rental was ridiculous. And I said, why don't you move down where I live? Yeah, I'm commuting, but, you know, you can, oh, no, we don't want to drive an hour and a half. Now, maybe be a little different with the train
Right.
down here, make it a little more feasible to commute,
Right.
but you guys are right on point. That's exactly what it was. All the good-paying jobs, and I worked around Boston on 128 for years.
Right.
That's why I couldn't find anything that I
That's
did
right.
around here.
No, and not only that, I think, just generally speaking, even across the country, there aren't many big families anymore.
Nope.
The days of the
Right.
8 children, 7 children,
No.
it's just not there.
No, that's
So you
right.
You see that population in that age group diminishing.
Yeah, I agree.
No.
So are you gonna share this? huh?
Yeah.
Oh, of course, of course. So I'm just, to go back to that middle section, Terry, do you think you'll write the entire thing? Okay. Okay, perfect. Anybody else have anything else they want to contribute to it? It's open, of course, to anyone.
Just one thing with Ryan. I opened up the email that you sent me, the graphs. I'm having a difficulty, like, splitting all that out. I don't know if you can send me just the graph that you want put in.
No, my issue
Language.
is, I think I told you that during our meeting, I can't figure out how to, I haven't had a chance, because I had to send all that stuff out. So there must be a way you can download it. I just haven't figured it out.
Yeah, even one of them, I went and said I need access on one of them. Sign up for,
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. I'd have to go back and look.
yeah, well, if we want to have them.
Theoretically, if I publish it after doing the research, then you should be able, if I send you the link, you should be, it says you should be able to see it.
Yeah, you have to publish it first.
Yeah, I did.
We did.
So, but apparently it doesn't work with any kind of regularity. So what I think I'm gonna try and do is I could snip the graphs.
Yes.
And then,
That's a good
and then
idea.
copy out
If not,
the,
I gotta like,
Yeah. you
the only
can
problem
snip it.
is,
That's a good idea.
yeah, I can snip the graphs and then copy out the copy.
Yeah.
And put it under the graph.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's either send it to me and we can insert it into.
Yeah, I can say, I'll try and send you the links again, but I don't understand why it works sometimes and other times it doesn't work.
Have you asked Claude to export it as a PDF?
I did, oh, yeah, I could try that. I haven't tried it
It
yet.
might work.
Yeah, but then he's stuck, he has to be
There you
able to,
go.
PDF on,
I've got to
PDFs are
insert that
tough. You
into
want a
the-
JPEG.
into the
All
Word.
right, export it that way.
As
Well,
a
I gotta insert it
JPEG?
into a Word
well, or
document, so-
export it into a PowerPoint, maybe.
or to a Word document?
or
No,
a
no,
Word
don't do
document.
that, because if it's DocX, it may not work. 'Cause
Yeah,
some,
I need to be able to copy that image, basically.
You can
put into
copy
the-
it from a PDF.
You can copy the
yeah,
image.
PDFs would probably be the best way to go.
That's what I think.
All right, well, I'll send you, I'll fool around with it. I could snip it and then
Yeah.
put copy
Crop it,
underneath.
whatever you want it to look.
Yeah, I'll try
With
that.
the
I haven't
language at
tried
the
it yet.
bottom.
And I'm gonna go back in, there must be a way you can export, because you can export the copy. You
Yeah.
can't export the picture. So there must be a way you can export
Hmm.
the picture. Yeah. I'll look at that.
I'll look at it, see if I can get,
Feel free-
I couldn't
you
get
can
the
send
link
it to
so
me.
far.
I'll try to help if you
Oh,
want.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let me fool around with it first. and
All right.
Then if I need some help, I'll ask for help.
Okay.
And I
Gary,
think the goal would be, if we're gonna print this, well, we're gonna print it, but in color, we have it in their hands a few weeks before.
That would be
Several-
good, at least a week,
few
yeah.
weeks before.
Well, I'll work on it on the weekend, so.
I think we
by
can do it,
Monday,
because
I'll
we
know
got a
what-
lot
Yeah.
done.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, it's just,
And the only thing I probably
Assembly.
need, last year I know I didn't need help, but this year I might need help. I print them all out, get it all organized, get the labels from the clerk, and then we have the envelopes, and then we just run through the postage machine.
We do that.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, let me know when.
I wasn't looking at you, Terry, to
I'm not gonna
volunteer yourself.
be around, I'm not gonna be in town 18th.
Of May?
After, right.
Oh, hopefully we have it done.
yeah,
by
before
before.
that,
By then,
ideally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terry, if you need more help, I can
I was
help
just
you
gonna
as
say
well.
the same thing. I usually
I
have a
can
day off
stuff
that
an
I can help.
envelope and fold like
Last year I
no
did it
tomorrow.
alone, and it probably took me
I know.
4
Oh, yeah,
hours.
Poor guy.
You shouldn't do it
Well,
alone.
should
You
be-
get like
should be
3 or
quick.
4 people together, we could do it fast.
Yeah.
Get them in the mail.
Gary, you had asked to make sure that you had the items for the agenda for the select board, and I thought, just want to make sure we're agreeing, that we wanted to put grants, economic development, and short and long-term capital. Those are the items we want to put on the agenda for,
Okay, can you just send that to me in an email, because I'll
Sure.
forward it.
I will.
Well, who's gonna do,
Yeah, we didn't really find, I know
Brian's
Well,
Ryan
I'll try
wants
and
to
do
do
the
it.
economics.
Try.
But, I mean, I could go into this for hours, and that's probably not a good thing.
No,
So what do you estimate, how long could I,
Yeah, what's the time frame?
Especially with doom and
Let's
gloom.
take a vote. How many people think that's a good idea?
this is really, it's funny, this is really relative, because when I was in business, I used to have people that did this for me,
I know.
and now I do it, and people are thinking I do too much.
I mean, I'm a little intimidated now. I offered to do grants, but compared to that, I can't.
I have
talk
a grant
about
slide.
You don't have a
I'll send you.
20-page dissertation,
Well, I
Terry,
mean,
with
I have-
charts?
I have a thing on grants, if you want to.
You have what?
I have a thing on grants that I did, so I'll send it to you. You can decide whether you use
I
it.
wish that I could have taken notes at those meetings, because that's where we heard the problem, was that there were some grants that were left on the table because people.
Oh, I have
Specifically what
notes on
grants?
that,
Yeah.
specifically for the harbor development.
So, Gary, do we have a time frame? Because I don't think, we're not the only thing on the agenda, is
No.
that correct?
No, so,
And I would like
I'll
to
have to
not,
get back
I would
with
like to go before the liquor
Yes, we want to be
licenses.
first.
He would like to have information by Tuesday, because you're gonna meet with the chairperson on Wednesday.
yeah, so on
right?
Wednesday.
I don't want
I'm
to
the
be
chair.
sitting around there
So
while they're
by
approving.
Wednesday, I'll have the, so for the Thursday meeting, I'll have the time.
Yeah.
I'll have the time allocation of how we're gonna set, how
Well,
we
I'd
set
like to
that.
know, yeah, the time
But
slot that
I
we're
will
being
say
given.
that, the preference is to be at the beginning, obviously, not at the
Right,
end of the
but,
meeting.
I mean, seriously, I could go on forever, but I mean, I would imagine no more than 3 minutes.
I would
2
say that
minutes.
the discussion
Yeah,
would
you don't
probably
wanna
take
do that,
a half
Barry.
an hour,
You put
maybe.
people to sleep
With
on
the select
something
board, maybe a little bit more.
You're talking about all three of our topics?
You lose your
Yeah.
attention span.
I mean, it all depends, I mean, there's, I mean, when we set the agenda, we don't, if it runs over, it runs over. I mean, it's,
I think we should have at least 30 minutes. That's
Yeah.
my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I
Could be
think so,
longer,
and
but
I
let's say
think
that.
that,
because you're gonna want feedback from the board also.
Right.
yeah.
I mean, the proper way to do this is give them all this stuff in writing beforehand, and then do the presentation.
I don't think
Well,
it's a challenge.
they will have it in writing.
I just want to say, I do not think this is a challenge. I think that
Yeah.
the expectation of the finance committee is reasonable. We spend the time looking at this. On their agenda, they do not have this kind of time on there. So I think it's perfectly reasonable for them to
It's
expect
no different
that
than the
from us.
discussion we had all
I
evening.
just would like to know if they are looking for something from us, we would like to have time to prepare for that. And otherwise, we can fill up that half
Yeah,
hour
so I
easily.
think how it needs to go on the agenda will be FY '26 budget presentation, which I will give, with topics to include those three, by finance committee members.
Right.
So I think that's,
Mine will be short on grants, will be very
So,
short.
I mean, but if you're going to mention that, we really don't have to get into details on economic development, do we?
Not on the agenda.
On,
Oh, I mean.
not the agenda,
actually
but
on
for
the-
discussion, you're gonna
Oh, okay. I
wanna speak
just
on
wanna-
maybe ideas and topics that
All right,
we've
fine.
discussed.
Yeah, okay. I'll do it and I'll circulate it to everybody.
So, and I mentioned this before, and I know you know a lot about grants, but you probably know a lot about the long-term capital projects, too.
I'll do that, yeah. right.
Okay, because that's 2 topics. You're
Yep,
okay?
So somebody else will take grants, right?
Well, I didn't know if you, I didn't want to take it from you.
Who else, there must be other people here who have written grants.
I've never written a
I've
grant.
never written a
I've
grant.
never written one, never have. Don't know anything
I worked
about
for private industry.
We'll give it to
We do
Bob.
grants.
Well, grant writing, no.
Brian, you can incorporate that into economic development, right? That's one of the,
Yes.
right?
I could, but it
That's
makes
one
no
of the
sense.
issues. Yeah.
I mean, I think we
You
should
can
keep,
separate
And
it
then I'll
out,
talk
Brian.
about long-term and short-term
I'm an old
planning.
man, you want me to do this?
Well, how much can you really
We
explain?
just talked for an hour and a half, Brian. I think you can
seriously,
I got a
handle it.
lot
the
to say.
Brian, the point on the reason.
I can
I'm-
do all.
The reason I'm suggesting it is, the only point that we're making is, we heard from people
Right.
that there is a need to have somebody dedicated to
Right.
grant writing.
Right.
Because
Yes.
the people, the department heads can't do grant writing and their job.
Right. And that-
And the
that-
person
right.
we think does that here, the assistant town administrator, also has other things that he does, and he can't do that piece. So we're recommending that they think about having,
I'll present that if you want.
okay.
Well, I'll send you this today, because I did
Yeah,
something.
that would be great, okay, or you present it, either way.
I don't
But
want to present.
I also think that we should consider the fact that there's gonna be less and less grants moving forward right now,
Yeah.
because the
Oh, of
government.
Because
course,
there's gonna
yes.
be more and more
not-
competition for them
Well,
also.
there's just
Not-
not gonna
not
be,
because
there's
of that.
not gonna be
Because-
availability.
Some people need a big tax cut. Some people need
Yeah.
a big tax cut, so
I'm not
all
following.
the research, all of
All
the.
research has,
Yeah.
all the grants for research have been pretty much cut
Yeah,
right now. So I think before we would even, we can recommend that that's something in the future, but I think before we go and hire somebody, we should make sure there's grants to be had.
Yeah, my recommendation on talking about the agenda topics would be that everybody, you can have one point person, but that other committee members are involved in the discussion too. You can all add to the discussion, not just one person. I think that someone may be the lead, but if others engage with the conversation, I don't think that that's
Great.
an issue.
That's great.
Well, I think what
I mean,
Janine just,
Janine sat on it every single budget
what?
preparation, right? The small, I thought you went to every single small group. Yeah.
Yeah, and the consensus wasn't for the majority of those groups that a grant writer would be
Yeah, it
beneficial.
would be good. So I'm thinking, though,
Okay.
that what Janine quoted, and she'll circulate, would be a good format for us to figure out who does what when we sit in front of, the select board. Because it covers, it's a conclusion about looking at all these data.
Yep.
And then, and then we can talk about, all of us, about
Right,
specific
well, then it leads
data points.
specifically into the 3 topics that we
Right, it leads
isolated. Yep.
specifically, right,
Okay.
into the, yeah. So I think if you circulate that, we can look at that as the framework for presenting to the select board.
In the opening statement of the Finance Committee's memo, was it also mentioned that the process was streamlined with the form that we used?
Artificial intelligence, yeah,
Yeah.
It was.
yeah. But we also took DLS and DOR data as well.
No, I'm saying like the budget process in general.
He's talking about the budget process that we went through, that it
Oh,
was
this year.
different this year because of the form, because of the
okay.
meetings
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
department
Okay.
heads,
Yeah.
that we felt it made everything more streamlined.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be
And then we hope
that could be
to-
the
and we-
lead
And
in.
we hope to do
Yeah,
it again
I like
next year
that.
and get better.
Yeah, I
We
think-
will
I
do it
think-
again
I
next
think
year.
there's a process now, and then along with the process, there's the timeline that we established, so I think it makes things run a little bit smoother. I find that this is probably since I've been on the, involved with the committee, this is probably one of the smoothest years that we've been through. It allows us now time to work on the memo to town meeting.
I think we can give you some credit for that, Gary.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't think it's just the change in process, honestly.
Good job, Gary.
Good job.
yeah, it was a good job. I do have a question, though. On the 28th, besides us, who else will be in front of the select board that night?
There will be, well, the agenda's not set yet, so I really won't know 100%.
The only reason, if I may, the only reason I'm bringing this up, because it comes to our presentation, we may want to streamline this a little bit, because, as I mentioned, in kidding to Brian, we don't want a long dissertation. We want something that's to the point, pithy, if you will. We don't.
I think we're on to you, Brian.
No,
You
no.
want the facts, or do you want
No, no, we
to,
can,
do
we
a
can,
typical
we
dark?
can have the facts, but we don't have to have a long
Let's not
dissertation.
kill the messenger
about-
here.
So-
Right. No,
Well, I
you
think-
did a great job, but I'm just thinking about, how sometimes meetings get away from you if you get into too much detail.
I
or
will,
people
I will go
thinking
through my
about-
data and make
I think we
it
have
more concise.
I think what the key is to realize that you're presenting some facts, some key agenda, but you also want feedback. So you have to allow
Yes.
for time, you have to allow time for
Yes.
feedback also.
Listen,
Right.
And dialogue.
if that meeting is the majority of feedback we get, we got a real problem, because,
Well,
they
it's
have to
not-
take an active hand. The whole point of doing this.
Yeah,
is
I mean,
for
well,
them to-
you hope,
Mm-hmm.
there's gonna be dialogue,
There will be.
obviously.
There will be.
It won't just be
I'm
us
sure.
presenting,
There'll
there'll
be
be some,
questions. That's
there'll be
It's
some
an active
rhetoric.
select board. They will be.
So you have to leave time for that.
Yeah,
Exactly
I'm
my
hopeful.
point.
Stop.
All right, good.
Before we
Yes.
leave, there's just 2 things I wanted to mention. One is that I started to work on the kind of handbook thing that we talked about. And the town of Dartmouth approved a boards and committees handbook back in November, which Chris sent me a copy of. So I read it, it doesn't really explain what we're looking to explain in finance.
We have a
committees.
boards and committee handbook?
We do. We do.
Okay.
And there's a boards and committees website someplace on the town website, which lists Phil
Yeah, I saw it.
Bryan as expired.
Yeah, it says 2024, Gary.
I have it.
It's still-
That's
it's
wrong.
still
Yeah.
on, so I don't
Yeah,
know
the town
where
website's not updated.
I don't know where the glitch is on that, but what you might
When's
do,
determined?
you all should have gotten a letter.
Right at last time.
I get a,
Did you get sworn in?
Just one second, Phil.
One conversation.
You all must have gotten something from the moderator
Yeah.
that said what your term is. Well,
Yeah.
then you're expired. Did you write to her and say that you wanted to keep doing it?
yeah, I have too.
No,
I think I
I'm not
did. I think
talking
I
about you.
did. I never got anything.
What?
I think I did. I never got
So
that.
it needs to be corrected.
Terry, it
However,
looks like it's out of date. It looks like it just hasn't been updated because Adam is still on it.
you're on it,
I'm wrong.
so it's not.
So the handbook is incorrect, but not the webpage.
Yeah, the webpage.
The webpage is
The webpage
incorrect?
is incorrect, yes.
Oh, I thought, I looked at it recently, I thought
Yeah.
it was.
I remember,
But that's because I
We'll
called
take
and
care of
asked them to list me.
yeah.
Oh,
I
interesting.
asked
So
them
it's
to
not a
update
big
me.
deal, and it could be as easy as, I don't know who updates those.
We'll take care of it.
Okay, I don't know who updates those, but, we have some people who are watching our meetings very carefully and
We do?
looking for,
A couple.
People do watch,
I have an update.
it's a fact.
If I may, on communications, I
Oh,
did
yeah.
speak with Magnolia, and if people want to subscribe to either an email or a text message, she's gonna show Gary when he puts our minutes on the website, there's a way for you to then just, like, there's a button that you press or something to do the text and the email. And Magnolia said she'll show you how to
What
do
is,
it.
but what is
Who's the
that,
email going to?
what does it do?
It would go to anybody who subscribes. There's something on your end
Oh,
that
then
you
they
have
have
to
to
do.
subscribe.
Yeah, they would
Right,
still have to,
but-
people would still have to
sorry.
subscribe, but it's there.
I think we have to be more proactive than that. I think,
Yeah, I
I think the
agree.
first time around,
I
we should
agree.
send it out to everybody, there's a town meeting member, whose emails we have, and then give them an
No, you
an
can't.
opt-out.
You can't.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
You can't, but what I can do
Why
is I
not?
can mention it at town meeting, that if they go to our website, you can subscribe
Why
to
can't you-
any department you want to get meetings. You can't
I
add
don't think- I
emails, they
think you
have to add
have to ask
themselves.
permission to.
I'll show you.
I think you have to ask permission from the town meeting member to send the email.
Yeah.
That's the first step. I remember this from,
Yeah,
But I'm going to add a note to that, because I've had conversations with the town clerk, who readily hands out the email list
but this isn't something.
with no instruction that says you have to ask anything.
Yeah, but this isn't like, and you don't have to be a town meeting member. Anybody can go, you don't even have to be.
No,
a
that's
town
fair,
resident.
that's fair.
You can just go to the town and you put in your phone number or your email and you say, yes, please send me updates. And then when Gary loads them into the website, it'll automatically go in as either an email or it'll go to it as a text message with a
and then
link.
that person subscribes.
Yes, the person subscribes independently.
Hmm.
It's quite easy. I've done it, so I'm curious now in the future if I'll get some.
Yeah, well, she'll show me. and
Yeah.
I'll just, when I load it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, so I'll share the news.
All right, excellent.
Yeah.
Are we?
So I'm sending you something on grants, right? You-
Yes.
You, that one.
Yes, me,
would you like a motion?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Liaison reports.
yeah.
Anybody have any meetings they've been to lately?
Yeah, I mean, I've been at long-term capital, and I've been at school committee, and so has Kerry, and I think we're up to date on communication from both.
Okay, I haven't been to any meetings lately. Somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes from April 10th?
Make
I
a
have to
motion.
abstain.
Okay,
I have to
I'll
abstain.
second it.
I'll did you make a motion, Terry, or?
Bill did.
No, I
No, he
have
said,
to,
no, he
Oh, you
abstained.
abstained, oh,
because I was
I'll
not
second.
there.
sorry. Motion to approve.
Terry made a motion to approve and Brian seconded
Seconded.
it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I make a motion that we, oh,
1, 2, 3.
Not me.
2
I
abstentions. 3, Carrie, Phil, and Bill Bowles abstained. Everybody else approved. What else we got? Gary, anything else we need to know before?
Nothing, only as you put this packet together, I mean, if Brian wants to look at those graphs, we can,
I'll figure out how to do it over the
Yeah.
weekend, or maybe even tomorrow.
yeah.
And next
Or
week,
if I can't do it, I'll ask for help.
Yeah,
And
I'll
then,
help you.
next meeting, it would be nice to have like a draft, a review.
Or an outline and a draft.
I
Yeah, and then
try to
on
work
the,
on it this weekend. too.
And then on the, let's see, so that'll bring us to the 24th. And then the 1st, we'll have, maybe we can finalize it the week of the 28th. And then the 1st, we'll have Schedule A, and then maybe we can send it out that week.
Okay, so what are we gonna do about the select board then, in terms of who's gonna present what to whom?
well, we still have next week to talk about
Yeah.
that.
All right, but you're gonna
Just
send all
saying.
this stuff out, which should be the basis for deciding what we're gonna say, I think. Yes?
Sounds good?
Okay.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to
Yes.
adjourn.
Carrie
Second
makes
that.
a motion, Patrick seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Meeting
job, team.
adjourned. Where's my gavel?